Good morning. My name is Mrs. Hernandez, and we're so happy to be here with you today. We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and I have some of my colleagues here. We have some students here from CHS, and we're just happy and proud to share a little bit about who we are, our culture, the different places that our families are from, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we have just getting ready for today, because we've really enjoyed just our talk so far. So first I want to introduce everybody. Well, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves because I want to be sure that I don't get anybody's name wrong. But once again, I'm Mr. Hernandez.
I am Mr. Hernandez, her son.
I'm Master Sergeant Rogelio Uribe, Junior RTC.
My name is Dayani Velasquez.
My name is Edwin Santana.
My name is Gabriela de Leon.
My name is Melanie Lopez.
Hi, I'm Hugo Oropesa, originally from Mexico City, and I'm the one, to grew up in Mexico because all these people grew up here in America, and I'm the only one really Latino.
And I'm Mrs. Calvachi Hawkins.
So we're really wanting to introduce maybe you to some new things that you didn't know about the Hispanic culture. Maybe you did, but we're celebrating, we're happy, and so we got a few questions. So I'm going to ask, Mr. Oropeza kind of answered my first question, which is, what is your family's ethnicity? And he said he's from Mexico City. Miss Calvachi, what is your family's ethnicity?
So on my father's side, his family is from Cali, Colombia, and then my mother's family is from Toa Alta, Puerto Rico.
All right. Melanie, where is your family from?
My mom's from Guatemala and my dad is from Colombia.
All right, Gabby?
Well, both of my parents are from Guatemala.
All right. Edwin?
I'm fully Puerto Rican. So my mom and dad are both Puerto Rican.
All right. And Jason Hernandez?
Oh, that's me. So my mother is half Mexican and half white, and my dad is fully Hispanic or fully Mexican. So that makes me 3/4 Mexican.
I'll go. Well, both of my parents are from Guatemala, and I was born here. Me and my siblings.
My mother was born in Mexico, and my father is from Spain.
From Spain. Wow, that's really interesting. So we've got a lot of backgrounds here. My next question is, did you grow up speaking Spanish? Well, I would say Mr. Oropeza.
Yes, most definitely. And I remember when I started to learn English, and it was so hard. I still need to learn more English. But definitely, most of my life, I speak Spanish. I grew up in Mexico. I study in Spanish, and still in my home we speak Spanish. And nowadays it's very weird when in my own home we speak English. We still speak Spanish with our kids, with my wife, and with my brothers, sisters. I'm the pastor for the Hispanic church here in La Grande, Georgia, and that church, we sing in Spanish, we preach in Spanish, we do everything in Spanish.
All right. Melanie, how about you?
Yes, I did grow up speaking Spanish. I had to learn English on my own by watching TV.
Oh, wow.
We still speak Spanish to this day.
Okay, what about you, Gabby?
Yeah, I think I grew up speaking Spanish also, but only in school is when I talk English.
Okay. What about you, Miss Calvachi?
So Spanish was my first language, but when we moved to Georgia, my parents didn't want me to struggle in school, started teaching me English. They didn't keep Spanish spoken in the household, so I did slowly start forgetting it. I can understand it better than I can speak it, and grammatically, I make a lot of mistakes when I do.
That's okay. All right, what about you, Edwin?
I grew up in Puerto Rico since I was 6, and we still talk Spanish at my house. So yes, I would say I grew up talking Spanish.
All right. Jason.
So, we grew up in the United States. So we were born in, I was born in LaGrange. My sister was born in California, but I grew up in California, and we spoke English in the house. So English was our first language, but over the years, I've kind of made it a point to to learn as much as I can. I'm nowhere near perfect. I could say I'd understand probably all of it, but I do struggle sometimes when I speak it. So I am making it a point to learn and to kind of just immerse myself in it, because I'm so proud of it. And being multilingual is a really cool rack to hang your hat on. And so, but yeah, I did not grow up speaking Spanish, but I wish I did.
Yeah, he's like jabbing me in the ribs. What happened, Mom? But I'll talk about my experience in a minute. But Master Sergeant?
For me, growing up, I grew up with my grandmother. So speaking Spanish was something I did about age 9. But then my parents, we moved out into the kind of suburbs. And I would say the same thing, just trying to fit in. And so my mother at home, we spoke English all the time. So it's one thing I do miss, and I would probably echo Jason by mentioning my mother, wishing she would have instilled Spanish growing up, because it is part of our culture, and I think it's important so we don't lose that, especially passing on to different generations.
That's right. That's right. Diane, what's your experience?
Spanish was my first language, and then as I got into school, I learned English. I mean, present, I think sometimes it is kind of difficult. You get used to speaking both of the language, and then you mess up on some words. You forget words.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say yes, I did grow up speaking Spanish.
And you still speak Spanish at home?
I still do.
That's good. That's good. Yes, my experience, like my son was saying, I'm half non-Hispanic and half Hispanic. So we definitely grew up speaking English all my life. I only really heard Spanish in the summer. So I really didn't start speaking Spanish till I was in my 20s. So and now, when people say, wow, especially when we travel in Mexico a lot and people are like, oh, I can't tell. It seems like you've always spoken Spanish. Well, I'm thankful for that. And that was a lot of hard work, but also Mr. Oropeza and his wife really helped me with that, because if you didn't know, Mr. Oropeza is my pastor. My husband and I are the praise and worship leaders at the Hispanic church, and we've worked together. We've known each other since I was 15 years old. He was at my quinceañera. So, yeah, so we're friends for a long time. But so they definitely helped me with my Spanish over the years. So I can always encourage people that it's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late.
How old again?
I was about 24 when I started speaking Spanish. So, yeah. And the reason, and my reason, and maybe your parents' reason for not speaking so much Spanish at home is we didn't want it to happen. What Diane says sometimes can happen is when you start crossing over and having difficulty in the languages. And so I think maybe that might have been your parents' idea too, is to make sure that we're really, really fluent in English and then move on from there. But yeah, it's never too late. If we're interested, we got to keep it up, right? We got to keep it up, guys. We got to keep speaking Spanish because it is part of our heritage, our culture, and it opens doors. It opens a lot of doors. I want to ask, who is your most inspiring Hispanic role model? Anybody? I'm just going to throw that out there, and I'm going to say, anybody want to take that? Who is your most inspiring role model, Hispanic role model?
I would say my parents.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like their hard work and sacrifice is very inspiring to me.
Yes. Anybody want
Say
to?
my mom also, because I only grew up with my mom, so it was just her and me, and she did everything to provide for me and us. So yeah, she's my biggest role model for sure.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I would say my grandma, even though I was in Puerto Rico since I was like 6, but it felt like a long time. And I call my grandma my mom as well, because usually when I was in Puerto Rico, I never spent time with my parents. I was with my grandparents. And she taught me how to cook some Puerto Rican traditional dishes and things like that.
That's awesome. Well, let me just pick up on what he said, because before we started all this, we were talking about how food is such a big part of our culture and how that kind of keeps us together. So first I want to ask, what is some traditional dish from Puerto Rico?
I'll say mofongo. There's green plantains, however that's in English, and mofongo, and I'll say, I just had it in my head.
It's okay.
I was thinking about my lines. It was sancocho,
Yeah.
arroz con cualquier cosa. O sea, todo podemos hacer. Y algo que se llama alcapurria, algo así. Es como, algo como, vamos a hacer pasteles. Pasteles con arroz, pasteles de carne, esas cosas.
So pasteles, I just want to say that one of the misconceptions, this kind of leads me somewhere else too, but one of the misconceptions is that all the food and cultures in Hispanic culture are the same, and they're not. And so like he just mentioned pasteles, so for Mexicans, pastel is cake, it's something sweet. But for Puerto Ricans, pastel is what we call tamales, I think. It's similar to tamales, so because he was talking about pasteles de carne. So that's it's the same words but mean a little bit different things, and so the culture is a little bit different, and the food is a little bit different. But like he was saying, I think we all agree that making food and eating food just brings us all together as a family. What's your most inspiring Hispanic role model?
Well, I think the commonality is always going to be, your family and your parents, and my biggest two role models have always been my parents. But me being a musician, and being the band director, I do have a lot of people that I look up to within the music world, and I could probably name some in an athletic perspective too, because I was an athlete before, which is sad to say because I'm not an athlete anymore, which is weird. But from a music standpoint, like there's people like Selena and Richie Valens, and we were actually talking about it before we started this with Desi.
Desi Arnaz.
Desi Arnaz. He was a very influential Hispanic musician, and so you kind of you're able to put your pride on their labors, and kind of forcing their way into the music industry, and then you have the athletic world. There's guys like Tony Gonzalez and that I've looked up to, because I played football for many years, and I grew up wanting to play tight end when I played football, and that didn't happen because I was too big for it. But I always looked up to Tony Gonzalez, and he's always hung his hat on being prideful in his heritage, and I think that Hispanic role models are the kind of Hispanic role model to look at are the ones that are proud of their Hispanic heritage, and proud of where they come from, and their families and such, and like again it all goes back to family. Most of all these Hispanic role models will talk about how their families were such huge role models, and so I wanted to bring them up too, because our parents are always going to be the number one answer, but we and a lot of what we do, there's the people that have kind of paved the way for it, in our professions. So.
Well, good morning again. This is Mrs. Hernandez, and I'm here with my fellow educators and some students here from CHS, and we're going to introduce some that we haven't introduced yet, and we're going to start over here on this side with...
Mi nombre es Dulce y yo y mi familia somos de Guanajuato, México.
She said, my name is Dulce, and me and my family are from Guanajuato, Mexico.
Good morning, I'm Adriana Munoz, I'm the ESOL teacher, and my family is from Guadalajara, Mexico, and we have more than 20 years here living in La Grange. Soy la señora Muñoz, soy la maestra de la clase de ESOL, y mi familia somos todos de Guadalajara y tenemos más de 20 años viviendo aquí en La Grange.
All right, and we have...
Mi nombre es Tommy de León y mi familia y yo somos de Chiapas, México, en un pueblo llamado Frontera Comalapa.
All right, and he is Tommy, and he and his family are from Chiapas, Mexico. And the town is, once again, Frontera Comalapa. And we also have with us today,
Me llamo Moisés Casanova Salinas, soy de México, en el estado de Tamaulipas.
Estado de Tamaulipas. So his name is Moises, and he and his family are from Tamaulipas, Mexico. That's in the northern part of Mexico. All right, and we have?
I'm Julissa Villatoro. Me and my family were born in El Salvador.
In El Salvador. And what city? San Salvador, which is the capital. Yes. Yeah. Big city. No? Small. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that was a big city. All right, well, it's so good to have you guys with us. Es tan bonito tenerlos aquí con nosotros. Y we're talking about what does it mean to you to be Hispanic, Latino? ¿Qué significa para ti ser hispano, Latino? And I'm going to give anybody the chance to answer that question. Julissa, why don't you start?
I feel like it's kind of like being able to having to share some stuff with a community, like some cultures, you share your idiom with them, you share like stuff that you might not be able to communicate it at all, or like make the other people fully understand what it means to be in Hispanic culture.
All right, right. Anybody else want to answer that one?
Me.
Okay.
Más que nada siento que es un privilegio y un orgullo poder ser hispano y ser de otro país y al mismo tiempo estar en Estados Unidos de América y poder compartir y enseñarles a los demás sobre nuestras culturas mexicanas, por ejemplo.
Mm-hmm. He said for him it is a pride and a privilege to be able to share, especially now in the United States, with people what it means to be Hispanic. So that's a really good answer. Thank you. ¿Alguien más quiere decir qué significa? What does it mean to you?
For me, I would just kind of echo what everyone's saying. It's about sharing. For me, it was just the culture and family. You know, and we were talking earlier about food, but food means a lot more. That's our time to reminisce. I think of my grandmother making tortillas from scratch, making tamales. You know, we always celebrate New Year's. That was our time of getting together. But I remember my grandmother, my aunts making tamales all the day before, cooking them and being ready. But it's be able to share that with other culture, especially being in the military. I miss that a lot because I did 22 years in the military, and majority of that was away from family. So the only time I got the chance to really think about it is anytime I made tortillas, anytime I made tamales, it didn't bring me back home, but also made me miss my family. So if anyone, I would say, you know, for us, I cherish that. I cherish those moments of not only the food, but just being time with family, because it's so important, you know. You know, I grew up with my grandmother, so for me, being Hispanic is just remembering and taking pride of who we are growing up.
Of who we are. I just want to, I don't know if somebody else wants to say something, pero me gustaría preguntarte a ti, Dulce, porque tú eres una de las estudiantes más nuevas en nuestra escuela, que has venido recientemente de México. I wanted to ask Dulce, because she's one of the newest students in our school, and she just recently came from Mexico. ¿Qué es lo que pues, te hace orgullosa de ser mexicana, por decir? What is something that makes you proud to be Mexican? Todo. Okay, ya sé. I know, a better question. What is something maybe that you miss from Mexico? ¿Qué es algo que extrañas de México?
Pues yo creo que sus tradiciones.
She said the traditions, como una tradición.
El Día de Muertos.
Día de Muertos, okay? So she and her family celebrates Day of the Dead. That's primero de noviembre, ¿verdad? Ya pronto. So that's coming up on 1st of November. So those are some traditions. Ms. Kalachi, what is something that you would say being Hispanic Latino means to you?
To me, excuse me, to me, I feel like it's really about passion and family. Like there's liveliness. Anytime we're together, yes, with the food, but there's also music too. There's always dancing. There's always like my mother is always like, come on, dance, like trying to get everybody out onto the dance floor. Whether you're good, whether you're not, whether you're shy, whether you're not. I think a huge part of that is just liveliness, the passion that we have as a culture. I think no matter who, where you're from, it's always this quality of passion that I notice.
I would agree with that.
I want to kind of expound on one of the first words she says, which was, and everybody's really said, is the sense of family that that I've seen, a lot of Hispanics and Latinos be prideful of and emphasize is the concept of family. I'm a huge cinema nut, and I love watching movies. And one of the most recent movies that just came out, you guys should go see it, or it's actually not in theaters anymore, so you should watch it on streaming. Blue Beetle. I don't know if anybody's seen it here, but there was that. I had a lot of pride watching it because it just showcased what Hispanics pride themselves in, and is the concept of family, and that is the backbone of success, especially potentially as immigrants, and but also wherever they are. That is the ultimate crutch and the ultimate motivation that I think makes me most proud to be Hispanic. I've had a lot of people ask me, "Man, you're so close with your family. Like, why is that?" I'm like, honestly, it just is. It always has been. It always will be. And honestly, probably, that I've seen that in almost every Hispanic community that I've, walked through, and you'll always see, their family there ready to catch someone, or in support. So I think that would, that makes me most prideful, and I think that the huge meaning of being Hispanic is really just, the sense of family. So.
Sí, quiero hablar con Moisés un momento, porque él también es nuevo en nuestra escuela. I want to talk to Moisés for a minute, because he's new in our school too, from Mexico. Mi hijo ahorita estaba hablando de familia, de la tradición que tiene que ver con familia. Y ¿usted diría que eso también es importante para ti?
Yo diría que sí, porque ahorita pues ya estoy acá y toda mi familia se encuentra en México y la verdad sí extraño estar allá.
Yeah. He said that he's over here and all his family's in Mexico. He definitely misses his family. Pues ahora tienes más familia aquí. I was telling him we got more family here and we're here for you. Vamos a estar aquí para ti. Pero sí sabemos, reconocemos que no hay nada como familia, right? We recognize that, even though we say we're family with him, but there's nothing like your actual family. And that I think that is all the way across the board. So really quickly, I'm going to change directions just a little bit. We asked some of the other students, what are some traditional foods, some of your favorite traditional foods from your country. So when we got other countries now represented. So, Julissa, una comida tradicional de El Salvador.
Pupusas.
Pupusas.
Most famous from El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually really good. And thanks to my mom, like she taught me how to make them and how to make some other food from El Salvador.
Oh, looks like you're gonna have to make some for us.
So yeah.
Pupusas.
Besides that, some empanadas,
Mm-hmm.
or panes con pollo.
Oh,
yeah.
Very good. We're gonna have to try. Una comida tradicional favorita.
Pues la mía creo que serían los tacos y las tortas de la barda.
Ah, muy rico. He said his favorite are tacos and tortas de la barda. Tortas are Mexican sandwiches. They're made on this like French bread kind of. And de la barda, ¿qué significa eso?
Es que es una torta de Tamaulipas,
Ajá.
de Tampico, que pues, es muy popular allá.
Okay, he said from the city where he's from, there's some really popular tortas, and that's what tortas de la barda. Yeah.
This is making me very hungry.
Oh, all right, Tommy.
Primero que nada, creo que el mole es una comida muy típica de México. Es algo espeso que contiene pollo o ya sea puerco, pero puedes añadir arroz y puedes comerlo con tortillas y creo que es uno de mis platillos que más extraño de México. Especialmente lo hacía mi abuelita y ella le daba un toque especial.
Okay, he's talking about mole. You've heard people say holy moly. Well, that's where that's from. That's where that phrase comes from. Mole is a very traditional Mexican dish. And it's kind of a love-hate thing, right? People either love it or hate it, but when it's well made, it is delicious. But he was saying that a lot of times you make it with chicken or pork. You can eat it with rice, and it's one of his favorite dishes. So yeah.
And for people that don't know, you put chocolate in it.
Yes, that's the secret ingredient.
Kind of the crazy part.
Yeah, chiles and chocolate. Yes. Ms. Munoz?
Tortas ahogadas and tejuino. Tejuino is a drink very traditional from Jalisco.
Okay.
And it's prepared with lemon sherbet, but it comes with lemon juice, some salt, and is prepared with a fermentation of tamarind.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's really good.
Oh, that sounds delicious. She's gonna go now.
And tortas ahogadas are very, very famous back in Jalisco, and is pirote or bread, and you put beans inside, pork, and they have this very special salsas for that. And because ahogada, because you put it in a lot of salsa.
Soak it.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So it's very spicy, or you want it not so spicy, but it's really good.
Yummy, yummy. All right.
Yo creo que sería
Pozole.
las flautas.
Ah, sí. Pozole, anybody pozole fans around here? Yes, yes. Pozole is a soup. It can be red, it can be white, puede ser rojo, puede ser blanco, puede ser verde, green. El favorito mío es el verde. Green is my favorite. It can be with chicken, it can be with pork, puede ser con pollo, con puerco. Y muchas veces, tiene maíz, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo se llama? Corn, hominy pieces are floating in there. It's so good. It's so good. Mr. Oropesa, some favorite traditional food?
Well, definitely it's tacos. Tacos is all kind of tacos you can eat. In Mexico City, the city where I was born, you can try all type of tacos and you never knew what it's making from. It's just delicious, and especially the salsas. We have very, very variety of salsas in Mexico, and that is the flavor to make a different flavor of the taco, and different tacos with different salsas, and it's my favorite dish in Mexico.
Yes.
I just want to point out that the kind of tacos that he's talking about are not the kind of tacos you're going to get at Taco Bell.
No.
Okay? The ones at Taco Bell were invented by an American somewhere. I'm not sure who it was, and I'm not bashing them. It's good food sometimes. But the kinds of tacos he's talking about, the kind of meat you're going to get is various different kinds of meat. So steak, it's not grounded. It's a diced up steak, or you can get something called al pastor, which is
no sour cream.
And no sour cream on the tacos.
And
either.
no lettuce.
No lettuce. We put cilantro, onion, and then the salsa that he was talking about. So, and the tacos are not hard shells either. If you didn't know that.
Corn tortilla.
Corn tortillas.
Yes.
And they usually put 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I found out the reason why they do that is because the tortillas can break easily, and so you reinforce it. Somebody actually told me about you're supposed to take the first tortilla with the stuff on it and leave the one behind, so that way if it falls, you have seconds. You use a tortilla, the second tortilla, but that's just whatever.
Food hack.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I just say, the tacos is a tacos, and whatever way you eat it is delicious. And I think it's very, very, I will say, flavor food. And I think most of the people around the world, they like it. In the beginning, when they saw, of course, food, they don't know it. They are like, reject a little bit. As soon as they try the tacos, it's the most famous food, I will say, all around the world, tacos.
I agree. So we have one last question. Oh, Ms. Kawachi. Sorry.
Well,
Traditional favorite food.
so for my father's side, I would probably say empanadas. I mean, I could eat like a whole 12 by myself, honestly. I'm not even playing. And morcillas, too. I love morcillas. Not everyone's a fan of it, but I do.
What is that?
It's like, I hate describing it because then you won't want it even more. But it's like the blood pudding sausage. So not everyone's a fan of that, but it really is delicious.
Okay.
And then my mother's side, everything, honestly. But pasteles, arroz con gandules, pernil.
Pernil. So arroz con gandules, that's rice with little.
It's like red rice
garbanzo?
with pigeon peas.
Pigeon peas, okay.
And then pernil is like roasted
Pork.
And then pasteles we already described is like kind of
Like a tamale. So good. So.
Mine would be 2. One, I love garden salad. My favorite.
Yeah.
Second, and every time I go to family in Texas, it's
menudo.
So for me, it was just growing up, menudo with pan blanco. That was the go-to dish every morning.
Okay, we gotta tell people what menudo is. Menudo is a soup made with the lining of the cow's stomach. So I'm not a fan. No, thank you. But anyway, it's a very famous food. My husband loves it, and a lot of people love it. Final question for today. ¿Cuál ha sido alguno de los retos que has enfrentado como hispano? What has been one of the challenges that you faced being Hispanic? Okay, that's a good attitude. She said, I haven't really faced a challenge yet because I just got here. So, Ms. Munoz.
How would people really think about Hispanic people, actually, and how hard it is or had been to show, present, and demonstrate that we are not what many people think about us, that we are lazy, that we don't ignore that with ignorance, that we don't love our country, or that we don't respect them, but actually we love our country, we love this country. We are not ignorant. We have degrees. We are prepared people, and we love to share.
Yes.
It's something that's our culture, as share.
Yes.
And there's, of course, the language. I have a kind of barrier, and especially because here in the South, in this East South, is a very heavy accent.
Yes.
In other states, it's not so heavy, so it was hard for me for that. But mostly is that.
Yes. So, such good things that Ms. Munoz just shared, that we love to share, and that we do love this country, and that we also love our heritage, and that you can do both. You can have both. ¿Algún reto que quisiera hablar alguno?
Yo
Yeah.
tengo. Yo diría que he sufrido un poco de racismo. Al ingresar a Estados Unidos teniendo 12 años de edad y sin saber nada de inglés, ha sido difícil los primeros años.
A ver, espérame, quiero traducir esta parte. He was saying that he has experienced some racism since he came in when he was 12 years old and didn't speak any English, and that's been a difficulty for him.
Y sufrir de las burlas de compañeros en los primeros años al no entender en clase y no tener amigos más que nada. Ha sido difícil.
He said to hear insults from some other people in the classes where he wasn't able to understand or had difficulty. So that's been a challenge. Gracias por compartir. Thank you for sharing that. ¿Quisieras compartir algo?
Pues el no saber inglés, la verdad, no. Bueno, o sea, si me hablan, a lo mejor algunas palabras sí les entiendo, pero no sabría cómo responderles.
So he was saying the language is a difficulty, and that he can understand some words but not know exactly how to respond. See? Julissa?
I would say, yeah, like being able to communicate with people, because I don't have like a lot of time living here. Because most of my life I've been living in El Salvador. So whenever I came here, I already knew English, but I still had like trouble with people like trying to understand me, and sometimes I still do, but it's probably that.
Okay. Well, you're doing a great job, and están haciendo muy buen trabajo, y yo sé que todo esto va a ir mejorando. I know all of this is going to get better. We pray that all of this, these kind of issues with divide and racism, we really pray that is no more. We know it's difficult. We know this world is not perfect, so it is what it is. But this is just a little part of us. What we're doing today is we want to start breaking down some of those barriers. Did you want to say anything?
I do. One thing I think is really important that I would love people to know is that being Latino isn't like a mix of anything. I know growing up, for me, like, and I'm sure like a lot of us, we didn't really have, when we came here, we didn't really have like a lot of representation. We didn't really see people like us. Like, it's one thing in New York, you have like whole communities that are Hispanic, but coming to Georgia, for instance, you really don't have that. And it can be difficult when you feel so isolated. You don't have representation on the TV. You don't have representation in music. You don't have representation in your own classrooms. So it can be really difficult. And then you hear comments, well, you're more like us than them anyways, or you're more like this, and we're not a mix of anything. We are our own. And like every single type of Latino, like Mexican, Colombian, Puerto Rican, like we each have our own dialects, our own idioms, our own indigenous people, our own history, our own backstories. We come in all different shades. There's white Hispanics, there's black Hispanics, there's all shades in between. And I think that's something that people don't realize.
Just like you said, just like in the South, you have your Southern drawl. In California, you have, what California people sound like.
Which is the correct way to speak.
Just like you said, you'd probably be surprised that there are different ways of speaking Spanish and different accents and stuff like that.
And then to grow up and then you balance our Spanish language and our English language, like we are raised automatically learning how to code switch, which is not easy. So sometimes if we're speaking and we like stumble or stutter, it's not a matter of us being, like stupid or ignorant or anything like that. You have no idea how intelligent we are in our own language.
That's right. That's right. It's a balancing act. It's definitely a balancing act. Did you want to say anything about this? Not really. But
we say something in talking about that. And actually, there's students that you're going to find that there's going to be multilingual because they speak a dialect, they speak Spanish, and they're learning English. So imagine that you need to translate 2 or 3 times one word before you starting to understand or get it, or you get it, but it's hard to
respond.
So, to respond. So if we would take us some time to think about what you're going to respond. It doesn't mean exactly that we don't know, we're ignorant, or we're stupid, or it's just need to translate. I used to have some students that they used to talk to me, and I was thinking, how do I going to answer you? So you can understand what I was going to explain. And they were like, oh, you're not listening. And say, oh, no, I have to explain it. If you see me that I'm taking some time, it's because I'm trying to connect and say it in the right way that you are going to understand, because it's academically talking and the regular talking and this talking. So you can get it. And so later on, they were like, oh, she's thinking, okay. So now, okay, this is, oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard, actually. Sometimes the wires get crossed and you have the Spanglish or something else in there.
Spanglish, it is a thing. It is a thing. And especially for the next generation coming up. And I know, like Mr. Lopez was saying, you know, that he and his wife speak Spanish at home, and they speak Spanish to their children, but their children also speak English. And so there is that sometimes a little bit of difficulty there with going back and forth from the languages. And what I would just like to say, maybe to wrap everything up, to me, being Hispanic Latino is, I'm kind of echoing what Tommy said, but it's something, it's not that we're better or worse than anybody, but we are who we are, and we should be proud of it, just like everyone should be proud of their heritage. You should be proud of it. You should be excited about what you can share, because that's what we should do, is all of us have something to share. So I hope that some things we have shared today will make you maybe have a different opinion of maybe Hispanics and Latinos, or maybe you just learned something new. I think we've all learned something new about each other. We didn't know a lot of things about each other, and it's been great. Ha sido fantástico conocernos un poquito más, hablando de nuestra herencia, de donde venimos. We've gotten to meet one another and learn new things about one another, and so we hope that you've had a great time as we have. So thank you, and have a great day.
Adios.
Adios.